What has occurred today in this country on the second anniversary of the October the 7th atrocities is sickening, and it shames our nation. I'll show you in a moment. But it is familiar. We saw it start 2 years ago when this visceral hatred of Jews was awakened all around the world. On October the 7th, 2023, Palestinians in Gaza cheered as bodies and hostages were dragged back into their territory. Palestinians in the West Bank did likewise. They celebrated. But around the world too, Palestinians, Muslims more broadly, and some of the radical left immediately took delight in the slaughter of Israelis. It was sickening. It remains sickening. And it came here. And we saw the most shameful public displays this nation has ever seen.
I'm smiling and I'm happy. I'm elated. It's a day of courage. It's a day of happiness. It's a day of pride. Where's that Jews? Where's that Jews?
And in response to those hate-filled displays that certainly endorsed violence and murder, and most certainly must have bordered on incitement, our governments, state and federal, and their law enforcement authorities, well, they did nothing. There were no arrests, no charges. And it hasn't improved over the past 2 years, with anti-Semitism reaching unprecedented levels, with fire bombings of cars, of shops, and of a synagogue, even a childcare centre, and numerous threats and graffiti attacks. It's been relentless, hateful, and frightening for Jewish Australians. And then today, on this grim anniversary, we saw graffiti in Melbourne of the most vile kind, glorifying Hamas and calling for more terrorist attacks on Jews. That this happens here, that such people live among us, is at once disturbing and shameful. Also today, the Palestinian Action Group was in court fighting against a police ban on a planned protest at the Opera House this weekend. They should let them protest on one condition: that the government-funded broadcaster, the ABC, broadcasts it live and in full so that people get to see the hatred that these people preach. The trouble is that Anthony Albanese and his government have been jelly-backed on this stuff since the very night of October the 7th. They've wrung their hands and they've demonised Israel, which is victim-blaming on a grand scale, turning their back on Israel diplomatically. So the Prime Minister's words in Parliament today were hollow.
The Australian Government stands with Jewish people around the world who feel the cold shadow of history's darkest chapter in any act of anti-Semitism. We will always stand against anti-Semitism, as should everyone. We must break this cycle of violence and build something better. Australia has consistently been part of the international pressure for a ceasefire in Gaza, the return of the hostages, for aid to flow, and a two-state solution.
No overt support for Israel, no idea of what's at stake for the Middle East or for Western civilisation and our own country. Susan Lee, on the other hand, showed clarity and strength.
I wish that today, as we mark this dark milestone, I could reflect on the strength of Australia's response. I wish I could be able to say that Australia did all it could to help release the hostages and the violence and dismantle the terrorist group Hamas. Yet to do so would be a lie. To our great shame, under the leadership of the Albanese Labor government, Australia has not stood with the people of Israel, nor with the United States, as they have sought to dismantle Hamas and establish the conditions for peace.
Hear, hear. Earlier, the opposition leader met with Danny Masno, the brother of the only Australian victim, Galit Carbone. She was killed on Kibbutz Be'eri on October the 7th. Danny was there but survived. I met him there earlier this year when he showed us around the remnants of the carnage. Today he had a message for Australia.
I'm talking on behalf of all of the 1,200 murders and 900 soldiers that killed in the war, but I don't want to bring it up now because there's dead people from the other side. War is war. We don't want wars. None of us want war. And if I just may, I want to really ask the Australian government and the PM to take a more active part in trying to solve this conflict, huge conflict with the Hamas and Israel.
Yeah, war is hell. Palestinians are suffering and thousands have been killed. But the lies told about alleged deliberate starvation, the obscene nonsense about alleged genocide and the atrocious claims that Israel targets civilians, when no military offensive in history has gone to greater lengths to warn civilians and protect civilians. Well, those lies have been spread far too readily by media and politicians. And tragically, instead of correcting them and putting pressure on Hamas, the Albanese Labor government has only given credence to the malicious lies and demonised Israel. This has fuelled hatred and it's misled the public, and it's only helped to prolong the war, because the only way the war ends, and we all hope that is soon, the only way it ends is by forcing Hamas, its supporters and similar groups like Islamic Jihad and Hezbollah to end their cycle of violence.